Hey everybody, what's going on? We are here with a timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is the Sun. When we have the Sun come out, it can make things clear. I'm also seeing the Two of Cups, so it can really feel like things are coming together. There would be a feeling of connection. There would be a feeling of happiness, joy. I feel even like a simplicity to this. Things becoming less complicated. This can be a time too where it feels extra warm in a soul type of way to be connecting. And you can also feel like what fits together feels very obvious too with Sun and Two of Cups. I'm seeing something as well about a shared activity. Looks like something along the lines of this. This can maybe be an exchange that you're having or something that you're doing with another person where it feels like you guys would be together sort of doing the same thing, like the same activity that you guys are doing, and it's something where I'm seeing like both of these energies be engaged in that as well. This can also be feeling like you're on the same page with yourself too, and that things have sort of cleared up in a way that feels kind of obvious now at this point. That means too that you can be having a connection with somebody that you feel is just, it can feel fun, it can feel joyful, it can feel happy just in general. There can be a sense of relief within that too. Something that just feels nice. Something that feels freeing. I am seeing Three of Swords here. I'm also seeing Page of Wands. Interesting. Having Three of Swords and Page of Wands feels like on one hand there's something that I'm carrying right now that I'm still working through. On the other hand, with Page of Wands, there can also be an excitement too. It feels almost like you're somewhere that you want to be doing something that you want to be doing, and that part is you feel a sense of purpose and a sense of connection and a sense of excitement to be doing that. At the same time, something may have happened recently, it would feel that way anyway, that you're carrying with you, and so that can just be part of this portion of the path right now. So even though I'm seeing this be denoting that you are where you want to be and that you're on the right path and this is what feels right to you, you can also feel like you kind of have a heavy heart right now at the same time. I feel like this is something that's going to fade as you step along your path. Seeing the Magician, I'm seeing Page of Swords. I feel like you have the freedom to be sort of creating what you want here now. You can be taking a deeper look, taking a closer look at what's going on inside your head. The stress of keeping it all together. Something can be feeling like hard work to have it functioning properly. Like in order to keep something balanced, it feels like you have to exert a very mass amount of energy just to keep something balanced. Maybe there's a noticing of that. Okay, so as I said before about the Three of Swords, I do feel like this energy is not going to stay like that. Three of Swords is something that we can be carrying with us that feels kind of heavy to carry. It can be something where there's still like pain that we're working through, something like that. But I'm also seeing Eight of Wands, which I feel like quite quickly you're going to be moving through this. I'm not seeing it as something that you're going to stay within this feeling. It feels like that initial, like, wow, this hurts. And then having Eight of Wands, I feel like quickly you're moving into a different place. And it's one where it feels almost like there's a saying that I feel would be fitting here, but it's not coming through. It's like when something happens, but then some time passes and it doesn't even feel like a lot of time. It feels like, oh, that was yesterday. Almost like it could have felt really intense at one point, and then I feel like as the storyline continues, it feels almost like it was very relative to that period of time. I don't see this as being something that's going to stay with you. This feels like the intensity of the moment where Three of Swords sort of rears itself, and then it feels like very quickly thereafter that you move into a place where it feels like you are reconnected again with where you want to be and feeling that enthusiasm there. And joy. But yeah, it seems like you had to get through something painful in order for that to be. Okay. For some of you, it can be that something didn't work out. Having Three of Swords and having Six of Pentacles can mean that there could have been a situation that was connected with like who's showing up with what, and is there an agreement about that. Now where I'm seeing you going is I'm seeing you be on a path that you may have wanted to be all along, but where you were before maybe wasn't reflective of that, but needing to work through it, do what needs to be done, and now find yourself over here. With Page of Wands and with Six of Pentacles, this feels like, wow, I'm really excited to be here because I feel like this is more than enough for me. And that may not have been the case before. Before, what may have been happening is something where it felt like there was a lack of reciprocity. Now, though, I'm seeing you move into a situation that feels like it's reflective of reciprocity, which I think is going to help heal what wasn't happening before and calls that needed to be made associated with that. You know that feeling of wanting something to work, but then it doesn't necessarily, but then you go into a next situation and it feels like it's what you need it to be, and how that helps you heal what didn't happen before, what did or didn't happen before. I feel like it's one of those where you know that you're going in the right direction. There's a confidence, like there's something within me that I want here that feels important to me. There's an experience that I want to be having, and I'm seeing you step into that with a sense of passion, with a sense of excitement, with a sense of purpose, with a sense of joy, feeling like you're moving forward. This even feels like that was painful. I'm moving on from that. What I'm noticing is that we have Three of Swords there, so it feels like recognizing like something that you've been going through. It has been difficult, but now sort of shooting out from that, it feels like this gave me a sense of direction. And that can give you a sense of very firm direction with where you're stepping now. So you can say, what I'm looking for now, that situation lacked, but now I'm on the path to really connecting with that. And that's where your head is with this. I do feel like compatibility is connected with this. Now I feel like I'm being drawn back again to the Sun and Two of Cups. This can be you realizing that, like, what really is your Two of Cups for you? And that feeling like it's becoming very clear, where there's not that disconnect anymore. You would feel very, very connected with yourself. This can also be another person that you're feeling very connected with too. It doesn't have to be. It's always going to be you feeling connected with yourself and things coming to light having to do with your connection with yourself, and also something about another person can also be involved in this as well. Now, in order to make this happen, there are going to be some hoops that you need to jump through, but it feels like it's just part of you being where you are. I actually want to clarify. What is this part about? For some of you, this can be about speaking up about what it is that you want. It can be about being direct about what you want. It can be you taking whatever steps you would need to take in order to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish here, in whatever form that would mean. Like if it means you need to have a conversation, doing that. If it means there are steps that you need to take, it's going to be doing that. If there's something that you need to figure out, it's going to be doing that. It feels like whatever is encompassed within this process of you making something happen that you want to make happen, doing those steps, and something about that may not be the easiest, but it feels like if you don't give up on it, it's going to be accomplished. Anything else? When you're sort of at the beginning of figuring this out, I feel like that's actually more so where this is coming from, where there's having to navigate through this in a practical way, and that can be part of it too. You know, sort of when you're figuring something out and you don't necessarily like know all the steps, you don't necessarily know everything that you're doing, you're sort of figuring things out as you go. That can be the part that feels challenging. You know, too, when you sort of start something relatively new, there can be this feeling of, I feel like that's the time where sometimes it becomes the easiest to sort of give up on something because you don't really put down roots yet. It feels like this is the part of the process where you're putting down roots. And so having to sort of stick through that part of things, which can be a little bit more planting and nurturing, and you have to be okay with things and like maybe being a little bit more slow as you're figuring this out, like the right way to maneuver through this. It's sort of like finding ways to nurture what you're dreaming up here and what you're manifesting and what you're intending to sort of create into your life. When we have those times, there is a need to love that, to nurture it, to support it as it comes into full bloom. But the beginning of this feels like planting those seeds so that this is something that can happen. And I think the part of sticking with this. I see you have definite excitement being here. I feel almost like there's something else. Something about like maybe learning and figuring things out can also be maybe difficult about this too. I wonder if this is just that it's like something big that you're wanting to connect with. That can be part of it. I think being open, because some of this stuff you don't know it yet. This can be things that you're figuring out that you don't have that information yet. Like you want to be here. This is saying, this is the path that I want to be on. And I'm seeing like quickly after whatever this is that happens with the Three of Swords, I'm seeing you be feeling like you're very much on track. Like this is where you need to be to make what you want happen. And also, I think the part about you figuring things out, learning those things, finding those things, gathering that understanding, that can be a part of this that feels challenging. There can be inquiry that's needed with this as well. Maybe something about that too. It's just about putting in the work. That's it. I think too, sticking with it, knowing something will come of it. Okay. Wow. We have 5 of Wands and we have the Tower. I'd say that something comes up directly. This feels too like, let's see what this is connecting with. Maybe there was a bit of conflict about what it is that you wanted here and having to figure that part out. Something that you could have been tossing and turning over, and it could have started feeling almost like you couldn't carry it anymore. Feels like something that you have to hold above your head until it's resolved, and feeling like you've been standing there for days and days and days and your arms are feeling very fatigued at this point. But then seeing the Tower, I feel like something happens. Isn't this just part of it? So we are ending with the Emperor. This can be something that you see as like kind of a bit of a collapse that's happening. I think that there was some, like I was building this up and now part of what I was building is falling over, but it's because the ground wasn't level and this just needs to happen. And I feel too like this is part of the building process within your life. Like sometimes we go down certain avenues and things happen and there can be things going, I think, differently than initially anticipated. But what I'm seeing is that when we go down roads where it becomes, I think, too much, out of proportion, and I think too the energy saying like it doesn't work this way and then things happening because of that. This feels like seeing what's going on. Like, why did that slide over? Why did this piece fall apart over here? If I was building it like this, what happened then? And I think really paying attention to that so you're understanding how the energy works with what you're doing. And I think also having respect for that part of the process, because you know that if the Tower never happened and you were building something unstable, it feels like that would defeat the whole purpose, right? If you're building something stable, it needs to be balanced, it needs to be even, it needs to be level. Otherwise, there's instability there. And when enough instability starts happening, the Tower comes through and says, we just need to knock all of this out. And it's not necessarily the whole thing. It's not necessarily every building within your life, but it can be certain things that you did put the work in and you did start doing that, but now it's time for these things to slide off so things can go back into a place of balance within your life. And so in that moment when that's happening, it can feel like the pressure, I think, that you'd feel emotionally and mentally seeing that happen, saying like this destruction wasn't part of the plan, but at the same time I feel like you know as a builder within your life that these things happen sometimes. And so I feel like this is also something that you regard in that way too, where you can feel affected by something, you can feel pained by something that's going on, and you can still say too, That's part of the risk. That's part of the process. That's how these things go sometimes. It's expected to happen once in a while. And I feel like now is that once in a while happening. And you know, too, that this is an organizing principle. This is something that only happens if stuff needs to be corrected. Tower only comes through when things need to be corrected. And so as much as you can say, this pains me to watch this happening, at the same time, you can know that this is in everybody's best interest to be happening. So the part of you that is connected with that higher wisdom, you can definitely know that. And then you have the other part of you that's connected with your ego, like on the lower planes, where you don't feel connected with that. And you can say, this hurts so bad. I don't want this to be happening, or whatever. The resistance, I think, really to allowing things to be as they are and show you what that looks like. Where you're moving is into a place where the balance happens as a natural consequence of you moving in flow with the rhythm of things and not pushing against it or like running away from it. Part of where you're going to, I feel like a tower happens just because there's some other things that need to be addressed. Like if you're really going to be on your pursuit of happiness, if you're really going to be on your pursuit of excitement, if you're really going to follow your heart and follow the fire within you and walk down that path, there's other stuff that's not aligned with that part of yourself that is going to have to go through tower moments. So if you're at this point within your life with Page of Wands where you're saying, I want to be on paths within my life that I feel happy to be there, that I feel excited to be there, that I feel interested to be there, that I feel engaged in being there, that I want to be there. The paths that are not that for you are going to be things that have to fall away because they are the opposite of this. So if you're moving in the way of what you want, that means things that you don't want are going to fall off. If you're moving in the direction of things that feel engaging to you, things that don't feel engaging to you are gonna fall off. If you're moving in the direction of the rhythm of things, anything that's out of tune is going to fall off. It's like these roads are just going to crumble because you're choosing different ones. And that's just part of this. If you're saying this is what I want to be pursuing in my life, naturally, the things that do not align with that, they're going to fall away. And this is the moment where these things happen. And this can be a difficult part too, where you're like, wow, this feels really taxing. But at the same time, isn't it worth it? Because if you want that true reciprocity within your life, this is part of the process that needs to happen now because there are things that are out of alignment with that sentiment. And so I think being here and being present to the process as this is happening and knowing that it's not going to stay chaotic like this, the dust will definitely settle. And when it does, you'll look around and everything will look right, everything will feel right, everything will seem right, and you will know that to be true. And that's the beauty of this process. And this is ultimately how you manifest what it is that you want. By being willing to be part of this process and doing what you need to do. And I think really sticking with this if it matters enough to you. I think too that this comes from a place of saying I want the structures within my life to feel stable and to feel peaceful, for it to feel like things are functioning in a way where it works for everybody involved, like as much as it can, I think. And that it feels like we're all here working together and we all here have this common goal. And so you feel supported in what it is that you're doing. And so does everybody else. Because these are common goals. And so it feels like rather than you doing your thing over there and everybody doing their thing over there, you're like technically trying to like work together, but you're like working on different things and then they're like opposing and conflicting. This feels like settling all of that. So it can just feel like, oh, we're all building together here. We want this same structure here. And so it feels like teamwork that's happening. And it feels too like what you want. And it's something that you will enjoy, these structures that you're building within your life. And they're things that I think provide you with what you need as well, with what you're looking for. Moving through the things that conflict with what you want on a deeper level. Following your path, even though it can feel difficult to do so. I think, again, because of like what this can bring to your attention. And then knowing that if you really do honor this, it will give you what you want if you're willing to go through the process. Again, those pieces settling and you feeling like that's how it's supposed to be. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.